to our January 20th, 2022 Arizona Commission for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing Interpreter Licensing Committee meeting. Kyla, can we have a roll call, please?
Of course. Commissioner Benton.
Present.
Commissioner Jantz.
Present.
Commissioner Cohen.
Present.
Staff present. Carmen Smith.
Present.
Victoria Vaughn.
Present.
Emmett Hassan.
Present.
Jeremy McCown. And
Present.
myself, Kyla Dalton Nava.
Thank you so much. Moving down to the second item on the agenda is the committee chair's report. I do not have a report at this time. The third item on the agenda is the review and approval of the 12 applications that we have. Do we have a motion to approve the applications that were submitted?
Hello, this is Commissioner Jantz. I would like to make a motion to approve the licensing applications for the list that we have. Alexander Jacob, Anderson, Carly, Lynn Nicole, Vanessa Maxwell, Sonia Newton, Nuit Sarah, Petro Molly, Rainey Sydney, Slamik Jessica, Wilmar Valerie, Whitmire Kendall, Zobek Joanne.
Thank you, Commissioner Jantz. Do we have a second to that motion?
This is Commissioner Cohen. I second that motion.
Thank you. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. Thumbs up. Motion carried. Congratulations. Was a very small list this time, only 12 applications. But I'm sure there's no rest for the weary that maybe the next onslaught will come for the office staff. But we do have a provisional C, which was wonderful for in-state. And we had 3.5 that were in-state and 8.5 out. So that half of is a person who lives in 2 states and so is licensed and wanted to be licensed in both places. So that's a good addition of a few more interpreters in the state of Arizona. So thank you, as always, to the office staff and to Victoria for answering all my questions and doing such a great, thorough job with providing us all the information that we need to do our job. Okay, the next item on the agenda is fee schedule review. Carmen, is that, or Emmett, where are we with that?
Commissioner Benton, Emmett will take the lead on this topic.
Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I want to let you know prior to the discussion, this is from the last board meeting, the January meeting. One of the commissioners reached out to me and we had a discussion about to come up with some ideas and propose language in the discussion. These were just some of the ideas we went over. This may be difficult to explain, so I decided to share the document with you. This may take a few minutes to bring the screen up so we can share the screen. One moment. Okay, if you can see here, I'm sharing this PowerPoint with you. I realize when we share the screen, it's very small. I want to make sure everyone can see it. Any feedback? This is Commissioner Cohen. One problem, I need to know which monitor am I looking at, monitor 1 or monitor 2? Do you mind wait a second and allow me to read it, then I'll come back to the monitor that you're on. Sure, no problem. No problem at all. I lost Emmett. I'm sorry, Emmett, this is the interpreter. Apologies. The other interpreter was voicing and her mic was off. So some of your comments may have been missed. If you don't mind repeating what you said, please. Sure, I'll go back. Oh, yeah, it's smaller for me. Just let me know when the interpreter's ready. If you don't mind, stay so I can see you. Okay, let me repeat myself to make sure we got everything. I went back and I looked at other board meetings and I found one issue from our board, Cosmetology Board. They allow their constituent to increase the fine over time in history under RSA. The language here, the specific language, I'm going to read it to you, say $75 to $2,000 if they are in agreement with it, 400 plus civil punishment. That's the formal structure that they used. But an example, they repeat themselves is for signature violation, probation violation. Second would be provisional or providing false information in front of the board. Those were the 4 violations that were they would increase the fines based off the history of repeated violations. Now, Andrew, if you would go ahead and read that section for us. I did get that covered. This is Commissioner Cohen, I did. From our Arizona Board of Education, the examples, again, broad descriptions, just to give you an idea of how they process fining their licensed persons. Say they violated citation, say the Arizona board would look at theirs. It was pretty interesting how they, the language under their fines. Civil consideration factors, justifiable then for it to increase on an average of the penalty and disciplinary. Falsifying records, inappropriate offense, obstruction of disciplinary, failure to follow the rules, court order disciplinary fines under the agency. And the list then goes on and on and on here of some of the things. Refusal to acknowledge wrongful nature of conduct. Looking at this verbiage, I thought that it allowed them, looking at this verbiage, then we could see how they were able to penalize them. And again, these are just examples of what I found. I jumped down. I'm sorry, Commissioner Cohen, did you have an opportunity to review those? Commissioner Cohen? I'm assuming we're okay, so I'll continue. Another example I would to bring before the board is mitigating circumstances, maybe, which seems very interesting and very new concept and approach based on, again, the history of the person having the license. And these were really good ideas for us to look at in the language. The board mentioned that right now, the fee schedule, if you look at the back of it, it's another document I have here. I'll show you on the back of that document here. That's called a disciplinary guide, and it outlines what we are permitted to file and arrange that we follow. We'd like to expand that based off the rules. We'd have to speak with our AG about that. So the next is just my recommendations of feedback for discussion and ideas that I'd like to bring to the council's attention. Keep it as simple, not to complicate things. Direct format. Say for the first offense or violation, impose a standard fine from a matrix, which is outlined here. The second offense, a violation, same or not, impose 2 times the original fine. Say, for example, if the person was fined, just off the top of my head, say $100, maybe doubling that based on the previous history. So then the fine would be $200. And say if there's a third offense or violation of the same issue, imposing 3 times that. Beyond the third time or the violation, we do a structured suspension, probation, however you all want to discuss that and word that during this meeting. That's what we're here to talk about based off the severity of it. Like I know in the California law, the third offense, you're out kind of thing, which is very severe and strict. They 1, 2, 3, and then you strike out. And I've seen this in other cities too. For example, in jaywalking, they had a 1, 2, 3, and they increased the fine over time. I found that very interesting. And then again, it depends on how we want to approach the concept. I'm open for discussion and ideas. And again, we then have to discuss it with our Attorney General and get feedback. And I'm ready to stop sharing my screen and open it up for discussion with the board. Any questions or comments from the council? Yes, Emmett, thank you very much for a thorough review of all the research you put into it. Oh, I'm sorry, this is Commissioner Cohen. 1 second. 1 second. I was trying to pen you all and may have missed some of the discussion. Some kind of way, I lost some of the information or the screens moved and I'm not able to pen. Hold on 1 second. Commissioner Jantz is saying, can we stop spotlighting? Jeremy, would you stop spotlighting individuals, please? Take the spotlight off of the interpreter, please. We'd like to have all the spotlighting removed.
There is no spotlighting.
Should we all go off screen? Emmett is saying. Okay, Jeremy, just so you're aware of it, my Zoom is showing that Emmett is still spotlighted. Same for me, Commissioner Cohen is saying. There it is. Better. Thank you. Commissioner Cohen, everything good now? Perfect. Thank you. All right, I'll repeat myself again. Sorry about that. Thank you very much, Emmett. Again, we really appreciate your thorough review and research of the work that you put in, as well as explaining the layout and how to figure out a fee schedule. Looking over everything you presented, I'd like to consider two avenues that we could approach with this. There could be a general violation applicable or applied to a fine of some sort, a base rate, and the second offense, doubling that, and the third time, tripling that same fee. The only concern with that I foresee is we are licensing people and they're earning money, that's their earned income. We don't want to be a barrier to them being able to make a living. If they feel that they can't really make a living and then they would quit the profession, we don't want to have that impact on the community. Regulating the licensing and ensuring that we have a standard set, a minimum qualifications, minimum expectations and skill set, as well as behavior in profession. So I would like to see the board give options of either having a fine imposed on the second offense or the board taking a direct approach to double the amount to fine the licensing persons. And 3 times, if there is a third time, for example, continuation in that same line of thought, keeping them separate, a separate offense based off the matrix, the second, the third violation, looking specifically at the code of ethics that's been violated. I think with ethics, that should definitely be a severe enough to impose a severity of a fine because you violated an ethical code. And that's something that the board would definitely need to consider, direct and punitive, that because an ethical stand was violated and that then hurts the community. And that's very, very important. Again, we want to ensure that people are learning from their mistakes and improve while they continue to be able to provide for themselves financially. But the repeated offenders, continual violations, as well as breaking the code of conduct and ethics, how do we impose a fine and have a barrier for that? And that's something we haven't considered at this point. I have a follow-up question for Commissioner PV Jantz. So you propose 2 different standards or one, a broader category where we're saying first, second, third offense, and then a second violation that specifically focuses on the ethics that were broken? Or we're saying ethics violation. From there, do you mind expanding on that for me? I'm sorry, son. Commissioner. Yes, you're correct. I'm talking about 2 different tracks. One for a violation of standard metrics that we're using to consider, and the board has the option to decide between the 2. If the second or third violation, again, an example that we use, the board decided to oppose a regular fine or double or triple the fine based off of the information and the violations themselves. The board has the option to consider that circumstance, per circumstances. Would it be just a direct punitive violation and they can continue to work? For the second violation, we'd have to, as a board, we'd have to look at the violation related to the code of ethics. That would be a little bit more stricter And I'm trying to think how that would work. I'm not 100% sure, but I feel like based off the ethics that are followed, the professional code of conduct and ethics, that severity of it, because it would then be a repetitive option that the person has violated and it needs to be taken to consider. Commissioner Benton, I believe you have a comment, so I'll turn the floor over to you. Thank you, Commissioner Chance. This is Commissioner Benton. I disagree with that approach. The first time is fine to notify the person, the training, more workshops, and the fine. The second and third offense, give them an option. I disagree with that. We want to teach them that they need to, what they violated with relation to the ethics, increasing the fine, increasing the fee. The second and third offense, I think at this point, giving them an option for more training. We've already outlined that in the first offense, and they may go on and repeat it again for a second or a third time. So giving them options, I think that isn't a good choice. So I disagree with that approach. The fine with education for the first offense is perfect. The second and third offense, I think it's not to have that with the punitive actions. This is Commissioner Cohen. I agree with Commissioner Benton. And the reason why is because, as discussed, the person, maybe they haven't learned their lesson with the first fine of the punitive action, and they've taken the education and we've kept it simple. We've asked them to go out and get further their education and learning to do their job. Maybe this profession isn't a good fit for them. Thank you for your time, and have them move on. And that's just my opinion. I agree with Commissioner Benton on that point. Now, I have 2 points that I just want to bring up, 2 questions, I should say. The first one, the California, you mentioned the 3 strikes and out. Looking at the document you submitted, I see offense 1, offense 2, and the third offense. The fourth offense offers suspension. I thought California did the 1, 2, 3 strikes and out. There wasn't a fourth. So that means that the first time was a mistake, second time you're permitted a mistake, and the third time you're out. But maybe I'm reading it wrong, or am I confused? Is 3 strikes and out, or fourth was suspension? I don't know. Provide me with clarification on that. And my second question, what happens to those interpreters who are in violation and they don't say anything and they don't even get fined? How will we then be able to impose a second or third increase in fines? The first question, the second and third strike and out, I'm not sure if that it's exactly out of the field. I'll do further research on that. From my understanding, they feel like the fourth is enough. They are not continuing the discussion with the licensing person. And again, that I appreciate both of the perspectives that's been given to me from Commissioner Cohen as well as Commissioner Benton. Now, based on the criteria, what the rules say that I've researched, it's based on how many violations the person had and the various degrees of violation. Say it's repetitive. It could be your roadmap to setting up criteria, how to determine the punitive actions taken. Again, it depends on how you as a board want to approach this. Free managing, we can decide that if we want to be more specific in detail with it. Increasing the fine, increasing education plus increase in fine. Only education without fining. I meant we have a range to work with. Thank you again, Emmett. That was my point. This is Commissioner Jantz. Maybe it was a misunderstanding in my comments. I don't want the board to have just a second time fine, here it is, or third time punitive fine, and just complicate things and make it worse. I would like the board to have options, meaning education, the violation. Say, for example, maybe they submitted application a second time for submission of the application, and we have that hard rule that the application that's submitted will be fined if it's submitted late or something. Maybe a different situation came up with a late fee. I would rather have the board decide to have those options, whether to truly say, okay, this is a repetitive action, it needs to be fined, it isn't a mistake, and therefore the fine will then be applicable at 2 times the amount. There's no reason or no excuse for a second or third violation of submitting your application late. 2 times, 3 times only complicates things and increases the fine. So we don't want the board to be stuck in this streamline of we're just fining and fining. We want to be flexible. Sure, Commissioner Benton. Yes, I appreciate that and I support that flexibility. Emmett, you explained it in detail in the PowerPoint. I think one part of that mentioned mitigating situations. So we would then have flexibility in having that set up and outlining to the licensing person. So they would then have an understanding of what we're trying to reach. The goal, we're trying not to just triple or duplicate or triple the fine for no unknown reason. I really like that idea to set up some kind of mitigating system and outlining where we're mitigating that with them. This is Commissioner Jantz. I have a question for you, Commissioner Benton, as well as Commissioner Cohen. With that specific example, that severity of structure, give me your feedback and we just throw out what would you like to see happen with that severity of ethical violations. We're switching it. We thought we were switching interpreters. This is Commissioner Cohen. I'm thinking to have it separate. One related to a violation of the code of ethics and a fine. Just off the top of my head, for me, I would say trying to keep it simple. We've already had the matrix outline. We're able to look at that. We're able to refer to this document and finding more information the board may have already had to increase and then make amendments with that as an option. This is how I foresee it. I'm sorry, my paper fell on the floor. I just bent down to pick it up. This is Emmett. Thinking here a lot to process and think about the different formulas and ideas to come up with. Okay, so from this point, how would you like for me to move on? Would you like for me to take what we have and go with it, or do more research and then be ready to present something at our full board meeting? This is Commissioner Cohen. What I envision now is try to do steps. Take a formal look at adding the punitive fining schedule that we'll use, get that structure set up, and then as a board, get that approved and build from there. They're following the code of ethics ingrained in it, but having that ingrained in later with the proper language, outline, and steps. So then the licensing interpreter can see the steps that they made that was in violation of what we need to punitive take action on. Any other comments? Any other questions? This is Commissioner Benton. I'm very comfortable with that decision. It seems like at past board meetings, The larger discussion was related to what do we do for our repeat offenders? If we start at a base with a schedule that outlines what it looks like for the second and third offense, that was a good start. So I definitely agree with that. At the same time, I also like the idea to the mitigating circumstances, having that flexibility to consider those options as well. Sounds okay? Commissioner Jantz, I agree. So what I'm going to do after this meeting, I will go ahead and send an email out of what I've outlined, the various ideas and the rules and informations that I've come up with. And I'm not sure exactly how the OML will open up. Open meeting laws open up. If we share our document, but that part I'll figure out, and I will keep you all informed from there and take the steps to get everything ready for our formal board meeting. I'm not sure if we're having one in February or our next board meeting. And we'll keep it going at the pace that's recommended today. I support all the work that this commission is doing, and I appreciate it. Committee is doing, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Emmett.
Okay, I'm going to go back to English. Thank you to everybody. Thank you, Emmett. I really appreciate that. And just like Commissioner Jantz said, doing that legwork for the board, it's so helpful. And bringing all those examples, really, it helps us create a framework to move forward. So thank you for that. The next item on the agenda is a rules update. Is there anything new to report on that?
At this time, we do not have any rules update. Most likely, it would be maybe March or maybe even April before we start seeing any more significant movement in that area.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any announcements? Item number 6. No announcements at all.
I will add that perhaps you all have seen it if you are on our e-news list, but the PPCU has done a great job in coordinating our events for the first 6 months of the year. So we would encourage the public and everyone to please take a look at that information or look on our website and see what those events are. There will be some deaf self-advocacy training. There will be some events during Black History Month as well. So quite a few events that are coming up from our public policy and community engagement unit. So again, I would encourage everyone to take a look at our website at those events and participate if they can.
Thank you. Thank you for reminding us about that.
Thank you.
Any public comments? I don't think anyone submitted any. Victoria?
An announcement. I just remembered we finally got the updates to our applications online. So those environments where it explains what it means when you check in-state, out-of-state is all set, ready to go, and it's live on our website. So just want to let you know that that's been taken care of.
Yay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So that will reduce the confusion and reduce me badgering you afterwards.
Yeah, it'll reduce the confusion, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Thank you for pursuing that.
No problem.
Thank you, Victoria, for explaining that also. I wanted to add that we had a few new forms we had to work out. Applications were very nice. We uploaded a photo, which really helped improve the process, make it easier for the interpreters that are applying. Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. It's just been such an interesting committee to be involved with, because not only do we get to review all these applications and see what's happening, but also just to work with you guys and see the progress that you make. And it's always so happy that we have a good give and take, and you're so receptive to our our suggestions. And I know they don't always work, but I appreciate the collaboration that we have with the office staff. So thank you so much for that. Okay, well, if there are no other comments or announcements, item 8 is an adjournment. And I believe we can adjourn at this time at 2:40. We will be adjourning the meeting. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, you want to make a motion, a formal motion?
This is Commissioner PV Jance. I make the motion. This is Commissioner
Okay.
Cohen. I second.
Thumbs up all around. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for all the work that you do. Thank you to the interpreters, captioners, Jeremy, everybody that makes this happen. Take care. Bye.